A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Galaxy Prime, coming to you live from our Midrand studios here in Johannesburg. It's just gone after 6 p.m. Central African time. I'm Audrey Chimanda-Twala. I'll be taking you through all the top stories and news updates from South Africa and across the continent. Racial tensions ran high in Newcastle today, where farm owners and workers attended a safety imbizo convened by Police Minister Bheki Cele after the deaths of a KwaZulu-Natal couple at a farm in Normandian. Cele, along with the national and provincial police commissioners, visited the community in northern KwaZulu-Natal. Now, his visit coincided with the first court appearance of Siyabonga Maqu, who was arrested for the murder of Glenn Rafferty and his wife Fida. They were shot and killed on the front porch of their farmhouse at the end of last month. Their dog was also killed in the incident. 4 more people are expected to be arrested in connection with the couple's deaths. Now, present at this meeting was Somnandi Khadebe from Normandian in Newcastle. He asked Minister Bheki Cele why he was not confronting the white people for what they were perpetrating to them. And Mbizo, over escalating tensions, then went into a war of words. Let's take a listen into what happened.
Sisesikathela ama-structures akhandwa lisuka le ku-province namhlanje suka wena eParliament le sazokhanda i-structure la emaplasini akumakomiti akhandiwa khona la sinamakomiti amakhehla sinamakomiti ezalukwazi sinamakomiti ey'ngane nizowakhanda la makomiti kuze kube nini manifuna nizokhanda amakomiti. Hayi sizokhanda amakomiti ey'nkinga zenu. Iy'nkinga zethu iqhamuka kubelungu. Njalo nje manifika nizokhanda amakomiti. Nizokhandela amakomiti ey'nkinga zethu nibasabana belungu ndosi. Yini ezithi nizokhanda amakomiti nikhandela abelungu belokhu behlupha thina. Njalo nizokhanda amakomiti, manje nizokhanda ama-structures, nikhanda amakomiti abantu. Emva kwalokho nisabe kuyokhuluma nabelungu. Nizofaka umlungu oyedwa lo mlungu ngeke nakanye emhlanganweni abantu waleso structures. Lawo makomiti besenwakhandi uyahamba kulo 5 first doors. Hamba nalawo makomiti asalahamba zivutha okhokho nabo abakhona bangamakomiti. Kongikhumane lapho. Amakomiti ayekhandwe yini? Usazokhanda amanye futhi nawo amakomiti. Oba nisaba belungu, nibasabana belungu.
Normandian's Farmers Association's Roland Coiler, who was present at the meeting, seemed to justify the farmers impounding dwellers' livestock grazing on the farms. He put Police Minister Bheki Cele on the spot, asking if it is acceptable for neighboring farm cattle and goats eating their crops.
The figures of the goats and cattle that were confiscated, those are goats and cattle from a neighboring farm. The companies farm eats crops. Is it acceptable to have neighboring farm cattle and goats eating your crops? Is it acceptable? Mr. Minister, could you please give me a nod? Is it or isn't it? The Minister will speak when he gets. Secondly,
and Police Minister Bheki Cele, seemingly angered by the farmer, by the probing question that he received, he responded in this way.
This thing of yours, of putting me here on the spot, wanting to answer you as this week, is arrogance. You are just completely arrogant. You have no respect. You have no thinking that we are here to listen and respond. You are not my magistrate, you are not my judge, you are not my prosecutor. You put me here and you can say I must use my head either to nod or to refuse. That's arrogance. Don't laugh. If you treat me like this, what do you do with the people that work for you? If you come here and you do that to these people, what do you do with the people that work for you? Sabantu dance, sabantu song. Respect. There's nothing wrong to respect. Nothing whatsoever. And for you to be respected, show some respect. We don't have to be scared of abelungu. We need to respect one another. That's the only thing we need. Just only that. We respect us. We respect, not necessarily like abelungu nabantu, just like human beings in South Africa. Respect one another. Life will be fine. Take me here, put me on the board, so think I'm a magistrate. Want me to Fuma here? Who are you? Who are you?
Gauteng Health MEC Bandile Masuku and his wife MMC in Johannesburg, Loyiso and presidential spokesperson Kusela Diko will have to wait at least another 3 weeks before they can learn their fate, with the Gauteng African National Congress having decided to extend the trio's leave of absence after declaring that they needed more time to review the party's Integrity Committee report into alleged COVID-19 corruption. The personal protective equipment scandal saw Diko's husband, Amabata Chief Thandisizwe Diko's company, Royal Bata, awarded a multi-million rand COVID-19 PPE tender, with the Masukus and the Dikos being close family friends. The delay, however, will not stop the public from demanding answers of actions of those who assumed positions of power and allegedly used them to extract personal gain. We can expect a reaction on the decision on Tuesday. Of Social Development has launched a Social Development Month, the Social Development Month rather. The government heads held meetings with various department heads as well. And beforehand, here's a report from our very own Basitsana Pora.
Olumnandi ngendlela isimangaliso lapho somnyango ka Social Development sizobonga imisebenzi emihle eyenzekile. Imisebenzi emihle eyenzeke ngesikhathi COVID-19 bekuyisimo esingasijwayele sonke engekho umuntu onama plans aso singazi futhi ukuthi sizohamba kanjani empilweni zabantu bakithi. Kodwa with the support of wonke umuntu wonke ama service providers sizibonile si social development singahluleki ukwenza lo provide ama services to abantu bethu. Ikakhulu sibone through ama contributions ama service providers sibone sikwazi ukudeliver 18,200 food parcels. Sabona sikwazi ukuyonikezela ngisho imiphakathi ehlwempu kakhulu besizibona sihamba amagquma namathafa kungekho futhi omasipala besingafikeleli kuona kungekho idistrict KwaZulu Natal engathi asikaze sifikelele kuyona ngenxa yalama food parcels and contributions by ama service providers. Ngiyafisa ukusho ukuthi okwanamhlanje njengoba sizobonga nje akusho ukuthi sithi kwanele. Sizobonga ngoba siyaba encourage ukuthi abaqhubeke bathola amandla amanye bathola amandla amasha bakwazi ukusupporta kakhulu. Umsebenzi omkhulu lo ngoba sisodwa siumnyango ka social development sithema sibambisana su social development uSASSA uNDA sakwazi no Solidarity Fund sakwazi thina sisodwa ukudistribute ama food parcels about 56,000 food parcels. Kodwa kwase kungena laba abathe cha sikhona nathi MEC siyafuna ukufaka isandla basinika sakwazi ukudistribute 18,200 esik-appreciate kakhulu. Ngibonge kakhulu. Ngiyafisa nje ukubonga kakhulu nokuma firm kwa premier wethu kwaZulu Natal ekutheni there should be consequence management. Nokuthi abantu bajeze labo bantu abafanele ukuthola ukufumana izijeziso. Kusisizile kakhulu futhi kuthema uma kuphuma i-investigation report inama findings. Kulawo ma findings there were recommendations. Sathi sumnyango ka social development we are going to stick kulawo ma recommendations atholakele ekutheni asimove siphambili. Kumanje ukunyazisa nje abantu abawu13 abasebenza abawu13 lapha ya kumnyango ka social development basuspendiwe basemakhaya okungasho ukuthi bazohlala nje emakhaya isikhathi eside ngoba swiftly within nje 14 days sase sikwazi ukuba suspend ngoba ama findings ayisekhona okumanje kune team i-team ecoordinatwe u-HOD, i-team eyenza sure ukuthi usuku nosuku ngiyayithola i-report, weekly report ethi how far are they nazo zonke ama-processes. Okubeka kancane nje okuke kwasibamba ukuthi singabatholi abantu aba-relevant. Sizokhumbula ukuthi one of ama-legal persons naye ube bandakanyeka owangaphakathi kwa-social development. Therefore, kuthande ukuyelula leyo process. Kodwa ngoNovember nje sizobe sesisho ukuthi zithini izinto esizenzayo, kodwa okuhle kakhulu abantu basaspendiwe ukuze bangasondelani nofakazi, bangasondelani nobufakazi obungathinti. Engikuthandayo ke ukuthi kuthe noma sesibheka sesibuka ukusebenza kwezinto, siyabona kona ukuthi ukubheceka siwumnyango ka-social development kwenze ukuthi i-service delivery singakwazi ukuyigijimisa ngendlela, ngoba sike safika nje endaweni yaseScott lapho sifika ama-homeless people, about 68 homeless people, belele phansi kwi-floor, phansi kwi-floor, yet we have o-blanket abangaka, yet we have izponji ezingaka. Kwabonisa ukuthi abantu abasebenzi bethu ngenkathi kuthiwa nje nayi investigation babe sebeyesaba ukuzisebenzisa izinto bazibamba. Lapho kwafika kwasinikeza i-shock of our lives, whereby abantu bakithi sifika beshivarisha and safika ngosuku olumakhaza ngendlela esimangaliso. They were just shivering, bengenanto yokumbatha. Lapho kwakufanele senze unakho ziyasiza ke lezi zinto ukuthi sikwazi ukuya phambili, simove siye phambili. Labo bantu kunamhlanje are enjoying ukuthi bakhona oblanket kwa social development, zikhona izponji, bayakwazi namhlanje ukulala, and that warmth kubona empilweni zabo isho ukuthi social development intervene.
Reproductive and sexual rights, so if they need the children they still have to come to us. But we also have a very big youth development branch, which they are also dealing with youth issues. So DSD has a very big youth unit in terms of development. So we're here today to do a number of things. Let's welcome and thank the municipality for welcoming us. And I always make this comment, Councillor and the representative of the mayor.
KwaZulu-Natal, Minister Lindiwe Zulu said it cannot be government's role alone to address and deal with social ills. These words were reiterated by Deputy Minister Henrietta Bogope Zulu, who urged stakeholders to pull up their socks in fulfilling their responsibilities to service delivery. The Deputy Minister spoke on being deployed in the KwaZulu-Natal province for the past 3 weeks in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and to ensure that people are rendered the services that they deserve. Bogopane Nkosi highlighted how disappointed she was that those who were put in positions to serve the people did not seem to care about the district model. The department was accompanied by organizations such as UNFPA, which deals with domestic violence.
And then the people that are there with the people cannot make the exception for 3 or 4 hours to actually put whatever they do, whether we are there or not, and do something different. I find it very disrespectful. And that I will send to the mayor myself and to the speaker, because I think as local government, even us, why is it that the president would release me to be away from my post for 20 days to be in the province of KwaZulu? And as we go through municipalities, the leaders of the municipality go on with their lives like we never arrived. And then we think.
The department was accompanied by organizations such as UNFPA, which deals with domestic violence and healthy reproduction issues. The Pink Drive is also a significant player in the cancer treatment sector. The organization brought critical screening to KwaZulu-Natal, where healthcare facilities are struggling to accommodate these additional screening services due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The organization also handed over a donation of PPE material to CEO at Eddington Hospitals. The organization also handed over a donation of PPE material to the CEO of Eddington Hospitals, Dr. Mteteli Ndlangisa. The department's head, Minister Lindy The department's head, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, and the KZN MEC Nonhlanhla Khoza kick-started Social Development Month. The department's head...
I shall not be coming back and I shall write in my district so-and-so, they were too busy. Because I think it's important for the president to understand that. If he deploys us to all of these districts around the country, we leave our children, we leave our comfortable beds, but the people that must receive us and make the decision.
We go to KwaZulu-Natal now, where a scene of unimaginable carnage has been reported near Wartburg in KwaZulu-Natal following a devastating road traffic accident. It involved a tanker and a taxi. The tragedy struck on the R33 this morning after a road traffic accident claimed the lives of 12 people. The horror crash has also left 2 people in a critical condition, according to reports, after they were rushed to hospital for further treatment. The stretch of road in Wartburg near Pietermaritzburg was the scene of utter carnage this morning. It is understood that a minibus collided with a truck thought to be an oil tanker, killing the majority of the occupants inside of the taxi. Now, joining us live on the phone is Mr. Mhlaba Memela. He is the Media Liaison Officer from the Department of Social Services in KwaZulu-Natal. Very good evening, sir. Thank you for talking to us under very sad circumstances. Can you tell us what you know regarding this accident?
No, thank you very much, my sister, and your viewers at home. It's a very unfortunate accident that happened today in the area of Wartburg, between Pietermaritzburg and Greytown. And obviously, as a Department of Social Development, we are currently working together with the Department of Transport. And you know that when there are accidents like this, the Department of Social Development has to come in to provide psychosocial support to the families and provide any other support, because it's going to take some time for them to recover or able to accept the situation following this accident that happened in the morning. So the report that we have received so far is that there are 13 people that have passed on. And the MEC for Social Development, Ma'am Nonhlanhla Khoza, has also sent her condolences to these families. And the team of social workers have been assembled to work together with the Department of Transport in assisting the families.
Can you confirm for us, sir, if those that are deceased have all been identified and if the next of kin have been informed at this stage?
The last time when we were checking with the team, they were working towards that. It might not be an easy thing to do, but obviously working together with the Department of Transport, together with Santaco, I'm sure by tomorrow they will have all they might have visited all the families and informed them about the deceased. So, because it seems as if the text was coming from one area, which then is that direction of Mbolweni. So they will actually they are visiting the area, working together with Santaco to ensure that they get the relatives.
And can you tell us if all the people involved in this accident have actually been accounted for? I know you have just confirmed that the number has arisen to 13 people that are now deceased, with 2 people that are said to be critically injured. But are there any other people that were involved in this accident that we may know of at this point?
No, at this point, my sister, I'm not privy to the information, because the Department of Transport, together with the law enforcement agencies, are still working on the investigation as well to ascertain what could have been the cause of the accident as well. However, there is an indication that there was a tip truck that did not stop where it was supposed to stop. So the tanker tried to avoid that tip truck, and then it allegedly hit on the taxi, so which then led to this terrible accident. So, and we were told as well that that tip truck also left the scene, so the driver did not stop after the accident. So I think the police are still searching, and as soon as they find the truck and the owners, I'm sure the law will take its course, because we are talking about the lives of 13 people that have been lost, And we are told that there is also one pregnant woman who passed on in that accident.
Absolutely horrific. Can you tell us what your department would then do in terms of services that you offer for those that are bereaved and those that have survived this horrific accident?
Obviously, my sister, we the team of the Department of Social Development has a team of social workers, and these social workers have a responsibility to provide psychosocial support to the bereaved families, as well as the survivors of the accident, because you know that when there was an accident, sometimes those who survived will always have the flashbacks of how it happened and all those in that situation. So you have to give them the counseling in order to be able to recover to that horrific incident scene. So then the families who have lost their loved ones, it's also very difficult for them, to cope with the situation. You can imagine when a person might have left home going to town or left home going to work with the hope that you'll meet with that person in the afternoon, only to find out that person is no more. It's a very devastating situation that obviously will take some time for any member of the family to recover. But our team of social workers, then they come in situations like that in order to assist those families and able to cope with the situation and accept what has happened and live on, go on with the life in the province.
Yes, of course. I suppose what I'm trying to ascertain, outside of psychological help, would the department be able to help in terms of those that need to be buried in case some of the family members are indigent?
Normally, as a Department of Social Development, we support the families, especially the bereaved families, with a social relief of distress, which means we normally provide them with the groceries in situations like this. But obviously, we work together with the Department of Transport and all other relevant departments in ensuring that all the work that needs to be done is done with dignity, and ensure that even if the families are going to bear, when they bury their loved one, they bury with dignity. So that's how far we, as a Department of Social Development, we can go.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. We certainly appreciate it. Mr. Mhlaba Memela is the Media Liaison Officer at the Department of Social Development in KwaZulu-Natal. They're just confirming that 13 people have lost their life this morning when a tanker collided with a taxi, and 2 people were seriously injured. And of course, they say they will be offering their services from the department that include psychological help and in terms of groceries and those that have been bereaved in the way that the department does. And we'll have to leave it there for now. We'll take a very short break. This is Galaxy Prime. Do stay with us. Thereafter, we'll take a look at court cases that happened throughout the day.
Violence and sexual abuse against children has become a major social challenge during the COVID-19 lockdown. We appeal to adults, parents and caregivers to be kind towards children during this lockdown and beyond. Give children the space they need to engage with their reading and learning activities. Do not hit them. Do not yell at them. They are equally frustrated. We urge you to listen, support and help the children to survive the COVID-19 lockdown. Report immediately any incident of sexual abuse. The Department of Basic Education. Every child is a national asset.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You you want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Challenge your ordinary. Experience the extraordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Now, I believe that my peace is my most valuable asset.
Absolutely beautiful!
This is exactly what I was looking for!
DJ Khaled!
It is a day to celebrate.
We're ready for action.
I like it when it's nice and soft. Yeah, that is nice.
How was it like growing up in Nigeria? Yes, sir, you know what it is.
Feeling is there that, you're doing something special.
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
You should just be what you want to be.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
Welcome back to Galaxy Prime. If you have just joined us, I'm Audrey Chimwanda Twala. I know just before the break, I promised you we'll be taking a look at high-profile cases from the courts. However, we have to talk about business now. We have to talk about money. We have an economic analyst that will be joining us and helping us analyze some of the trends that we have been seeing. The total income generated by the food and beverages industry decreased by over 50% in July of 2020. Now, this is compared to July of 2019. Statistics South Africa has released the food and beverage statistics, and as one can imagine, it's not looking good after a pandemic and a subsequent lockdown. Apart from food and beverage statistics, Stats SA also released its land transport survey, and income from freight transportation decreased by 15.2% in the 3 months ending July 2020. Now, this is compared with the 3 months ending July 2019, and seasonally adjusted payload decreased by 0.7% in the 3 months ending July 2020 compared with the previous 3 months. Road freight decreased by 2.6%, and while rail freight increased by 5.3%. The number of passenger journeys decreased by 64.8% in July 2020 compared with July 2019. The corresponding income decreased by 54.2% over the same period, and seasonally adjusted passenger journeys decreased by 44.8% in the 3 months ending July 2020. Now we'll take a look at road passenger journeys also that have decreased by 29%, and rail passenger journeys that have decreased by 97%. I know these are a lot of numbers, and it's kind of difficult to compute all of them and try and understand what all that means. But you don't have to worry, because we have an economic analyst to help us analyze those figures. Mr. Israel Mkhize is joining us live. Israel, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. So many numbers. What do we make from them? I suppose what we managed to understand is that there has been a decline in most of the projections that we've seen from the food and beverage industry income.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. First and foremost, the release of the statistics by the Stats SA of the food and beverage in comparison with the last year performance is what we call in economic terms year-on-year review or year-on-year analysis. So where you compare year on year and also quarter on quarter. So the conditions of last year and the conditions of this year, particularly the first and the second quarter, are vastly different. Last year, the only big problem was the issue of drought and the issue of load shedding and power sustainability. This year, it became another story, something we've never heard of, which is the virus and the subsequent decisions that the government took to try and cap the spread. So then there was the lockdown. Now, looking at the numbers that you have brought forward, they're very interesting because, number one, the total contraction which has been projected for the economy is between 7 to 11%.
Right.
We're hoping that the economy won't go to scary numbers like 15 to 16% in terms of the contraction on the GDP growth. But already 7% is extremely very high when you consider that our growth target is, in particular, if you look at the National Development Plan, it says between 3% to 6%. Obviously, we'd be performing way below that, between a percentage and a point, or less than a percentage. Now, what that means is that the economy has been producing less growth. Yes, there's been consumption, but the pockets that are taking away from the revenue, which would include your business losing cash during the load shedding, the servicing of debt for the state, all of those things taking from the little revenue streams that are coming forward. Now, what you have said about the beverage and food industries declining by 15%, please note something very interesting in the same period, that the agriculture sector grew way better than the very quarter of last year compared to this year. Agriculture grew very well because of rain. And I mean, you look at the oil seeds, they grew by 34%, even though agriculture contributes about 4% to the overall GDP. But that is interesting, that while food and beverage sort of declined, but in general, agriculture went up. Let me just also add this point that when you do a month-to-month rebasing or calculations of the basket to how much each sector is collecting, obviously what hampered the food and beverage is that there was just no activity in the restaurant space. And also the demand for circulation for alcohol was close to zero because that was closed down, as well as tobacco. Now, you're definitely not going to see any revenue or productivity because there's no activity in the first place. But the most other interesting part is that we also sell these products. We trade food, some parts of food and alcohol with other nations, in particular wine, export of wine and import. So when you have a total shutdown, there's no flights going in, no flights going out, obviously the supply chain is going to be totally hampered and disrupted. You are then obviously expecting a slump in that sector. So the numbers are actually reflecting the unfortunate reality of the lockdown, and it's gonna, some people say because people demand alcohol almost daily. Now, because people are gonna go there out and queue in the liquor stores and wholesalers and buy a lot to go and sell and consume and make some money. But the industry won't obviously make speedy recovery because, number one, most people don't have that money right now to actually execute the demand. Two, really money is with such low circulation, job uncertainty, unemployment skyrocketing, people are really saving their last penny for bread and butter issues,
Right.
Number two, when you talk about the consumption of food and alcohol, that's what we call velocity consumption, which means it's consumption based on numbers. How many people came into the restaurant today? Now, if you've got a restaurant that has missed people coming in the shop for the past 2 months or 3 months, now I don't care even if you can have one day where you sell to 1 million people, you've already lost a lot because there's a lot of food that had to go to waste, a lot of other bills that were, the general utilities of the business that had to be paid
expenses
from the surplus, which may not even have been there, for some businesses. you'll very much be aware that this week a list was released of all the restaurants that have closed down in Gauteng.
Correct.
Alone. So, yeah. So, this is just a sad reflection of the situation we've just come out.
Now, let's take a look at the Rand, with a country that is currently at lockdown level 1. Can we expect a further strength, perhaps in the medium term? We know that a lot of people have had to dip into their savings just to be able to maintain their day-to-day expenses.
Well, we hope the Rand is going to firm up, in particular on the last quarter. I think in the main because of some decisions that were taken by the SARS, in particular around the management of the interest rates. Those cuts up to 3%, if you will, at one point, 100 basis point, 3 times, brings to about a 3% cut of the rate. It will obviously help the consumer to have a decent access to the credit and credit market, if you will. But with that said, the lowering of the interest rate, which sort of cushions the consumer with the financial system, it comes with another cancelling effect, which is high level of layoffs from a very already sluggish economy. So now, while you may have a lot of people who have saved a bit of money in their pockets because of the cuts on the rates, you also have a lot of people who are going to be repossessed, who's going to have cars being repossessed and houses repossessed, kicked out of their places of wherever they've been renting. So now, it's what we call the negative equilibrium, where there is a lot of positivity with the cuts of the interest rate, but again, there is an equivalent negativity. So it's sort of a negative or a zero-sum effect on what was positive from the bank,
right?
The Reserve Bank. So the Rand will obviously firm up. Demand is obviously going to increase as we move towards the end of the year. But where are people going to be spending is another story. And obviously, the strength of the Rand also relies with our international trading partners. With the whole commodity, with the whole Rand exchange, currency markets. So, how each country takes its domestic approach post-COVID lockdowns is going to be very interesting. You've got some of our BRICS members whose economies have hit a very negative number. And we don't know if the demand side of things from our products is still going to fare steady up or what. Those are other things that are going to impact the steady growth or the decline of the Rand strength.
Yeah, and looking at international markets, currencies as well, Israel, when we look at emerging markets, can we see them strengthening, coupled with the overall weakness in the US dollar and the Great British Pound that we have been seeing? Can we see that perhaps providing some kind of cushion as well for the Rand? Well, first we need to define what we mean by emerging markets. Others have said it, the emerging markets are the developmental states. In the main, your Asian tigers. Those have been very, very strong because they base their economy on high level of manufacturing and export. China being leading in that space, and Japan, which had obviously is not as blessed as South Africa and other African countries such as Congo with mineral resources. But they've been strong on exporting technology and what we call the Silicon Valley's kind of productions, where you find the digitalization of the economy. So for countries who are emerging markets, who are going to really, or who have during lockdowns, came up with really strong Silicon Valley products, they are obviously going to see their currencies shoring up quite fairly well.
if they had some very strong relations with supply and demand with our own market, we may see the rand taking a very positive impact from those emerging markets. One of those emerging markets, obviously, is China was an emerging market until 5 years ago. It's now a big economy. So you're talking your Brazil, you're talking Argentina, you're talking your Mexico, you're talking your India. So really, it's going to depend on the post-COVID structuring of the economy,
right,
on how really our own currency fares in.
Of course. Israel, thank you so much for your insights. We certainly appreciate it. Israel Mkhize is an economic analyst giving us his insights with regards to the food and beverage industry income that has declined by slightly over 50%. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Israel. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Now we continue with our business stories now. The Rand report emerging market strength coupled with overall weakness in the US dollar and the Great British Pound has created a climate of potential support around 20 pounds to 8.9 to the pound and 16.11 to the dollar. This past week also saw the South African Reserve Bank keeping interest rates at 3.5% in South Africa. Now that's a record low after cutting 300 points so far this year. However, Monday saw the Rand weaken against all the major currency pairs. The Rand is currently trading at 21.62 against the pound and 16.91 against the dollar, and 19.86 against the euro. The pound has continued to weaken over the past weeks as the United Kingdom is struggling with its COVID relief systems. The health minister has announced that a second national lockdown could be on the horizon as hospitality venues across England will have to close by 10 p.m. from Thursday. Now, this has the potential to put further strain on the economy as it attempts to recover to normality. Now, back on home soil in South Africa, the economy has slowly started to recover as stimulus measures begin to have the desired effect. With the country currently at lockdown level 1, further strength is expected in the medium term. However, the crisis did create a lot of strain, obviously, on consumers and many people that have spent their savings in order to maintain their living expenses. Now, this has created also an abnormal fiscus risk. It can cause the economy's growth to be slower than usual in the coming year. This has the potential to see a further easing of the repo rate by the South African Reserve Bank in their meeting that is expected in November. Taking a look at regional stories now, we go to Zimbabwe, where Africa's first mine, where the workforce is made up entirely of women. Zimbabwe's Zimbabwe mine is the first of its kind in Africa to employ an entirely female workforce. In addition to sourcing the gemstones, the miners are being trained in cutting and polishing, which allows them to increase the value of the gemstones themselves. According to the African Minerals Development Center, at least 40 to 50% of women in Africa are working at the artisanal and small-scale mining sector. We go to Kenya now, where the Chief Justice has asked President Uhuru Kenyatta to dissolve Parliament for not having enough women as required by the Constitution. Chief Justice David Maraga says Parliament has failed to enact the two-thirds gender rule. Now, it states that one gender may not occupy more than two-thirds of available seats in elective or appointive bodies. Cicely Mbarire is a member of Parliament who is also the former chair of the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association. She's a member of Parliament wanting the Constitution's gender equality rule to be met. Let's fly you to Mauritius now. Well, they will reopen their borders from the 1st of October under strict conditions, of course, for the COVID-19 safety measures. Those that are arriving will be required to quarantine for 14 days at their own cost, which is estimated at about $1,300 per person. Tourism experts have faulted the quarantine costs as being too high, obviously, and tourists can choose to spend the fortnight in either 3-star or 5-star hotels. Quarantine costs for Mauritians returning for medical treatment abroad will be covered by the government. And an advisor to the Prime Minister's office says that an airline bookings and a hotel for the reservations for the rooms will be made online. The government says priority will be given to the returning Mauritians nationals first, those that are licensed residents and those employed in Mauritius, and tourists. No local cases of COVID-19, however, have been detected for more than 150 days now, but a few imported cases have been registered in Mauritius. The country has so far recorded 10 deaths from the COVID-19 pandemic. The country relies heavily on revenues from tourism, and its economy has been severely hit by the pandemic. In international news now, the most important week of the 75th United Nations General Assembly officially started on the 17th of September. It will last until the 5th of October. Volkan Bozkır was elected as the president of the UNGA due to Turkey's diplomatic success and solid promotional PR campaign in the UN. And the statement that followed, Bozkır made on the first day of duty, he said that even though his priority is the global fight against the pandemic, he will continue the UN's fight for other global causes such as gender equality, nuclear disarmament, climate change, and human rights, as well as sustainable development goals. He further noted that he would make an effort to reconcile the matters that are between member countries. This year, the UNGA theme is The Future We Want, the United Nations We Need, reaffirming our collective commitment and the multilateralism confronting COVID-19 through effective multilateral action. Leaders of the UN member states will give their speeches as they do every year on September 22nd. That is today. The first of the opening speeches we heard being made by Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro. We also heard from US President Donald Trump and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. There will be the third to make his speech by video conference. Each president is given a maximum of 15 minutes as 33 heads of state give speeches every day. On its 75th anniversary and during the global COVID-19 pandemic, the UN will bring the world leaders together in a virtual format for the first time to seek action and solutions for a world in crisis. Many leaders, of course, would have wanted to visit New York City to make a speech this year, but decided not to due to the 14-day quarantine requirement by the United Nations and the state of New York.
Thanks to our efforts, 3 vaccines are in the final stage of clinical trials. We are mass producing them in advance so they can be delivered immediately upon arrival. We will distribute a vaccine. We will defeat the virus. We will end the pandemic. And we will enter a new era of unprecedented prosperity, cooperation, and...
It's 10 minutes before the top of the hour. We'll take a very short break. Thereafter, when we return, we'll have a relook at our top stories and the news that we had for you for the day. Just stay with us. This is Galaxy Prime.
Violence and sexual abuse against children has become a major social challenge during the COVID-19 lockdown. We appeal to adults, parents and caregivers to be kind towards children during this lockdown and beyond. Give children the space they need to engage with their reading and learning activities. Do not hit them. Do not yell at them. They are equally frustrated. We urge you to listen, support and help the children to survive the COVID-19 lockdown. Report immediately any incident of sexual abuse. The Department of Basic Education. Every child is a national asset.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations.
Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat. StarSat. Challenge your ordinary. Experience the extraordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Now, I believe that my peace is my most valuable asset.
Absolutely beautiful! This is exactly what I was looking for! DJ Khaled!
It is a day to celebrate.
We're ready for action.
I like it when it's nice and soft. Yeah, that is nice.
How was it like growing up in Nigeria? Yes, sir, you know what it is.
Feeling is there that, you're doing something special.
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
You should just be what you want to be.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Hold on. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way. Don't just stand there, kill someone!
Feel the excitement. Feel.
This is Galaxy Prime. Thank you for staying with us. If you have just joined us once again, I'm Audrey Chimanda Twala taking a look at our other top stories now. A 36-year-old man has been sentenced to 20 years behind bars. This for the murder of his girlfriend. Abdul Samson Malambe was convicted of killing Zanele Janet Mnisi by striking her with a broom multiple times. This when she had visited him at his parents' home back in January 2017. It is believed that it was a phone call that Mnisi had received, which started an argument between the couple. Malambe had apparently recognized the number which had led to a previous spat. Senior State Advocate Derek Mashego, who has led the case against Mnisi, spoke on the scourge of domestic violence and also told the court it should not be treated lightly. Newswa said many women continued living in fear for their lives, which is a negation of many of their fundamental rights, such as equality, human dignity, and bodily integrity. The presiding judge also told the court that the rate of femicide in South Africa was high and that every 3 hours a woman was getting killed. She also added that Malambe's ruthless killing of Mnisi had left the woman's family completely grief-stricken and in distress. Still taking a look at court cases now, 3 police officers accused of having a hand in the murder of Eldorado Park teenager Nathaniel Jules appeared at the Protea Magistrates Court today. The 16-year-old boy who lived with Down syndrome was shot in his neighborhood back in August, where he had been out to get a snack at the local tuck shop. Sergeant Simon Njalavanye and Kaylin Whiteboy have been charged with murder. However, a murder accused number 2, Kaylin Whiteboy, has said that she did not pull the trigger, but is instead being framed by accused number 2. They said that defeating the ends of justice was one of the charges that they will be facing, and discharging a firearm in a public space and possession of prohibited ammunition. While Detective Sergeant Foster Nochiongolo faces a charge of being an accessory to murder, defeating the ends of justice, and unlawful possession of ammunition. According to the National Prosecuting Authority, the ammunition that was used in the killing was prohibited and could no longer be used under law. Following his killing, parts of Eldorado Park were brought to a standstill. Community members went on a rampage, accusing the police in the area of abusing their power and also hiding evidence of their involvement in the boy's death. When the trio appeared in court back on the 10th of September, the NPA had indicated that it would be opposing bail. Bushiri and Mboro have been warring for some time now, and now the latter will answer to allegations that he has defamed the former. Self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri has been pitted against fellow man of God Pastor Paseka Mboro Motswaneng in court, having accused the latter of defaming Motswaneng, who's also the leader of the Church Mandate Turnaround Movement, was handed summons by Bushiri's legal team last week after making allegations that Bushiri had hacked social media accounts that are belonging to himself and a woman who has accused him of defrauding her of 150,000 rand with his forex and gold commodities scheme. The two men of God find themselves pitted against each other in the High Court in Pretoria, and Motsoeneng is adamant that Bushiri must be exposed for coercing members of his Enlightened Christian Gathering Church into making investments of over 100,000 rand without seeing a cent in return. In recent weeks, a member of the ECG, Felicia Zibeko, accused Bushiri of scamming her and putting her future in dire jeopardy. Zibeko has been assisted by Motsoeneng in her efforts to get her money back, and he has now pledged to expose Bushiri for running the same scam among his congregants. Bushiri is also accused of fraud, money laundering and contravention of the Prevention of Organised Crime Act, with two women having recently alleged that they were raped by the prophet. Now here's an enraged Professor Mboro earlier on after the court case.
Because I'm from the court, come Major One, here are his people. We put orders. We are not getting orders. We are not getting our orders. We are getting a bad treatment even when we got in here. This Bushiri boy, ECG and members, Nando's is not owned by Bushiri. We're not gonna suffer because there are people about Papa here. We're not gonna suffer because of Papa. I've been sitting there. We order the things. We are not getting what we are ordering. I even asked this person to just check. How they kill him? Because of Papa. Bushiri must go home. In his country, they don't want him. Get me my things, Ritsamai. We have to suffer because of Bushiri. We've been sitting there. I need treatment like any other person who buys. I paid for my food. I must suffer because of Major One. Because I took Major One to court. We must suffer because of Major One.
How are you?
I'm good. We've been sitting here and all that. They gave us attitude from the beginning because I'm Boro and I'm from the court with Major One. This spirit of Major One, I have no personal thing with Major One.
And on that somewhat holy note, we close Galaxy Prime. Thank you for watching the program. From myself, Audrey Chimwanda Twala, and the crew behind the scenes, you have a good night.